Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome into another edition of Straight Facts Homie, the podcast where we don't yell at you, we don't tell you what we feel and our emotions. We give you the information and the data, and we let you decide and try to make you a smarter sports fan. And of course, every show we have a trusted voice coming on to talk to us, and talking to us today about what's going to happen maybe at Bethpage at the Ryder Cup next week is a two-time member of the U.S. Ryder Cup team, Tony Finau. But before we get to that, as we're recording this, it's the day that the news came down that Robert Redford has passed away at the age of 89. And for a certain generation of people, my age, maybe to 40 years old, I'm not sure there's a bigger, more iconic movie star that's ever walked the planet. And you just go look at the number of grand slam, home run, all-time banging movies that Robert Redford made. He started with Jane Fonda in Barefoot in the Park. He started with Paul Newman in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Did it again in The Sting with Paul Newman. Also had a great movie called The Candidate, which was political satire way ahead of its time. A movie called Downhill Racer. Then he did 3 Days of the Condor, an epic spy thriller. And then just for fun, he starred with Barbra Streisand in The Way We Were, and with Mia Farrow in The Great Gatsby. And then he did Meryl Streep and starred with her in Out of Africa. And in between, he did shows like The Great Waldo Pepper, The Hot Rock, All the President's Men, one of the greatest movies of all time, Sneakers, Spygate. He was also in some of the Marvel comic movies. Just go through the list. Jeremiah Johnson. It is unbelievable how many great, fantastic movies Robert Redford made. And he also created the whole Sundance Film Festival to get young artists out there and get their product seen. Robert Redford passing away at the age of 9 is an absolute blow to people who love movies and who love true movie stars. He was one of my all-time favorites. He will always be missed. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. And now let's get to this week's trusted voice on Straight Facts Homie with Tony Finau. Great to have Tony Finau with us on again. Tony, good to talk to you again. Just out of curiosity, how much is it, what are you thinking about not being there in part of the Ryder Cup this year, having been on a couple of teams and been on both sides of it? What's it like to want to be there and know you're not there at the moment?
Yeah, thanks, Trey. It stings a little. There's no question. It definitely stings when you have your heights or sights set on being on the team, to start the season. This is a tournament that I want to be involved in, and teams that I want to be a part of, for the rest of my career. Once you get the taste of being a part of a Ryder Cup, there's really nothing like it, I feel like, in all of golf and really in all of sports. So it definitely stings having to watch and not be a part of it, having been a part of these teams. But at the end of the day, you got to earn your way there. You got to earn your spot. And the 12 guys we have playing on the U.S. side have all earned their spot to be there. And, I'm still excited to tune in and watch the guys get after it.
Yeah, I talk to so many people in golf, and they all say the same thing. It's the best thing and the biggest thing that we do. From a player's perspective, what makes it so special?
Hey, man, so many things make it special. It starts with the fans. I feel like the fans bring so much energy to this event, electric energy, unlike any other event that we are part of, and majors included. As fun as all the major championships are, there's a certain energy that comes with being part of a team, playing for your country, having, the U.S. on your back, and knowing so many people are following. There's just an energy and a buzz, and that's so electric about being a part of these events that are unlike any tournament, any golf tournament in the world. So that's the start. You're playing with guys that you're used to playing against, and you have them as your teammates. That camaraderie is unlike anything we have, again, in all of golf. We're used to being individuals, playing for ourselves, for our families, and kind of a solo mission, if you will. Most of the time we're playing. When you're playing in the Ryder Cup, it's about your teammates, it's about your captains, your country. You're playing for so much more than yourself, and you feel that. So those are all things that just make the Ryder Cup so special. And then you have the history, guys that have come before you that have put their sweat and their blood, sweat, and tears down on the line for our country to play for our flag. And just to have that honor and extreme honor is just unlike anything I've ever been a part of. Shed many tears with the national anthem playing. Just the honor that it is to be a part of something special like the Ryder Cup, to be either whether you were picked, played your way on the team, but to be a part of those teams is just an energy and intensity unlike anything I've ever been a part of.
2018 was a seminal year for you in a lot of ways, and things you were able to do and things you were able to accomplish. But I remember at the PGA Championship at Bellerive, you were paired with Captain Jim Furyk, and you wanted to make sure that you made your case for him to pick you. And I believe you in that round you guys played together, you had 10 birdies, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that's right. I had 10 birdies at Bellerive. Yeah, I knew it was basically a tryout. He paired himself with Xander and myself, Xander Schauffele, and we both were kind of up and coming and had great seasons to kind of try to punch our way onto the team. But we were kind of outsiders at that time,
Yeah.
and so we were both trying to play our way onto the team. And so I knew that the chances of both of us making the team were pretty low. I think Xander and I both knew we needed to put our best stuff forward, and I was able to that week, I think, impress Jim enough to know that at least for a best ball, I was gonna be a safe bet, no question.
Well, did he say anything to you after that sort of gave you an indication, or did you say something to him like, "Hey, I'm just telling you, this is what I can do"? I mean, was there any of that conversation during that round?
Not a lot of conversation during the round, but he did tell me after that, he was happy to see me play well, see me make a lot of birdies, and just keep doing what I'm doing. And that's all I tried to do for the rest of that season. But the clubs do more talking than you can. The
Yeah.
club, you want the clubs to do the talking, and I think that season for sure, I allowed my club to do the talking, and I was able to make that team.
So, what was it like when you got the call? Hey, congratulations! I've picked you to play on your first Ryder Cup team. What does that feel like?
Yeah, it's so many emotions. It's a lot of gratitude, a lot of humility for the years, the hard work that gets put into to being a part of something like that, and then the season that you had to know that you deserve to be picked, and then the joy that comes from being picked. I mean, all of it um, wrapped up in one gift in one phone call. So it's a phone call I'll never forget, and one that I would say really elevated me into a mindset that I was one of the best players in the world, and I had worked my way there, and just so much excitement. But I'll never forget that phone call from Jim, and just he just stated to me like, look, you made it impossible for me not to pick you, and so that was something that I was really happy about, was just that I played so well that I forced his hand, and he knew that I needed to be a part of that team if we were going to have a chance to win.
Yeah, 10 birdies will do that for you. I'm not sure I've had 10 birdies all summer, but that's really a separate issue. Look, I know your story because we've talked before in the past, but for people that don't know, you talked about that phone call being a reward for all the hard work that you put into this. For people that don't know, you were going to go play basketball on a basketball scholarship in college at Utah State, and then things took a different turn, right?
Yeah, I had opportunities to play basketball. I played basketball in high school, but golf was my thing, and I knew by the time I was about 12 or 13 was when I finally I knew I wanted to be a professional golfer. But nowhere in my wildest dreams, did I think that things were going to go the golf direction. My family, Polynesians in general, we're football, basketball, we're great athletes, but we don't play golf. That's not, and in the neighborhood that I grew up in, for sure, nobody was playing golf. My brother and I were the only ones there, and got made fun of quite a bit that we played golf. But, at the end of the day, I learned how to play golf. My dad had a makeshift driving range in our garage.
Yeah.
We didn't have the money to pay for range balls. The first time we went to a golf course, he basically asked the professional, how much is it for, to go out there and hit these balls that I see these people hitting? And it's like, well, it's about $7 for 50 balls, and you got ten bucks for 100 balls. And then he pointed to another area where the chipping and putting green were, and they're like, well, that's actually free. This is a city golf course. You can chip and putt for free. So after doing some homework, my dad was basically like, well, we'll come to the golf course and chip and putt, and I'm gonna make a driving range in our garage for my boys to hit. And that was the attitude that I had. No excuses, um, and just work hard, outwork everybody else. That was what my dad preached, was that we're gonna, we're gonna be disciplined to practice every day, and just get after it. And I didn't know how different my practice regimen was compared to other kids until I got quite older. My dad did a good job of keeping me in my own bubble, work hard, but that's how I learned how to play. I learned how to hit. I hit more golf balls indoor than outdoor, probably till I was about 12 or 13 years old. I started playing when I was 8, so for the first 4 or 5 years of my life, I 100% hit more golf balls inside than outside, which is crazy because we play an outdoor sport. But those are just, some of the humble beginnings that I'm talking about, and those are the times that you remember when you get a phone call like that. You get to be part of something special like the Ryder Cup. You look back on what got you there, and the sacrifices that were made from your parents, the sacrifices you made yourself to achieve and accomplish something great, and all those feelings just come flooding back. That it was all worth it.
Yeah, and you sort of glossed over this for people that don't understand when you say my dad created an indoor driving range. He basically hung up mattresses, right, in the
Yeah,
garage.
yeah.
That was your range that we're talking about.
That's exactly right. So if you can picture just a normal rectangular sized garage, it was probably 7.5, 8 feet tall, which was high enough for me at that time. I was only 8 years old when he put this up, but the mattress sat right in the middle of the garage, and so my brother and I started together. So we simultaneously hit into the each side. So my dad would walk around to one side and watch my brother hit into one side, and then he come to the other side and watch me hit. But we would hit at the same time, so we could practice at the same time. He put it right in the middle of the garage, so we had no space for the car. It was all just a makeshift driving range indoor. Cement. We had a strip of carpet just on the cement that he just duct taped right into the cement, and we learned how to strike a golf ball right off this. And if we got steep, our hands would hurt because it was cement underneath, and so there was a lot of things that we learned. He would spray paint right on the mattress where he felt like a pitching wedge should go and where a 7-iron should go, and onward and upward, and how high a driver should be by the time we hit it there. And so we were very visual, field players because of that. And but that was the humble beginnings that I started, and how I learned how to play the game of golf. My dad didn't play golf, so Golf My Way, Jack Nicklaus's book that he had back in the day, that was our Bible. That was our golfing Bible. We learned how to grip the club from Jack. All the fundamentals my dad taught us were all from that book, and then we just worked at it, and that was it. And we're known for, my brother and I, end up being known for hitting it really far. But the crazy thing is, the last club we learned how to hit was the driver. We chipped and putted. We learned the game from the greenback because
Yeah.
that's what Jack preached. And so Jack, this is in the middle, this is mid 1990s. So Tiger had yet to kind of really burst onto the scene.
Right.
So Jack was still that guy, and so my dad was like, well, we're going to learn from the greatest, and we're going to follow the steps according to what his book is preaching. So Jack Nicklaus is a huge part of our story, just in that his Golf My Way book was our golfing Bible.
So how were you able to translate how it felt hitting in the mattress to then seeing the ball go outdoors? I mean, that had to be okay. That sounded good, right?
Yeah, yeah,
In the garage, and it felt like good contact. I think it's going where I think it's going. And then
yeah.
you go outside and hit it, and like, wow, is it doing what I thought, or was it what? Did that take a little bit of time to adjust to?
Yeah, we would get out on the golf course, and it's crazy how good the ball flew. I think it's hard to describe. We were used to hearing the mattress after we hit, but we would go
Yeah.
outside and often enough and see the golf ball fly. Once a week we would go to this golf in the round in Salt Lake City, which is an all year round driving range. So whether it was cold or hot, we'd be out there at least once a week. My dad would pay for balls, and we would go out and see the ball fly. And so, but it was crazy, the contrast. I look back now, and I still, if I didn't live through it, I'm just like, that's impossible. You shouldn't
Yeah.
learn how to play an outdoor game indoor. But having lived through it, it was kind of a miracle looking back. But ignorance is bliss, as they say. One of my dad's favorite sayings is the less you know, the better off you are, and that was him. He didn't know a lot about the game, but we had the desire and the work ethic, and just the passion. Once I really had the passion to be great at something, and that avenue that I felt like was golf, I really just got after it. I look back now, and again, it seems like it was sacrifices, but I remember at the time, it was like something that I really gained a lot of love for and a passion for. And so I don't look at it as much of a sacrifice as more of like, man, I end up just loving it. And I loved being in that garage. That was my solace. That was my therapy. I would get mad, go hit more golf balls. I would be happy, I would hit golf balls. That ended up being my place of solace. And so, but anyways, a lot of great lessons learned from those types of humble beginnings.
I just love that story. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in the world, and to see how it
Thanks.
translated is just fantastic. And real quickly, before we get back to the Ryder Cup, you were all set to go play, and then you play college basketball, and then someone gave you an invitation to some sort of event in Vegas, right? And you got a sponsorship event into this thing, and you did so well, you're like, okay, I think we can do this, and that sort of launched the whole thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. 17 years old, I got an opportunity to play in this ultimate game, which was in Vegas. There used to be this like big sweepstakes game in Vegas, and the criteria was basically you couldn't be a Corn Ferry Tour player or a PGA Tour player, but like mini tour guys, and then amateurs could also sign up. And so we had a guy that was willing to bet on us, and so my brother and I started it, and we ended up playing, and I got to the final 12. I won my first two matches at 17 years old, which I wasn't expecting. And so I was one of 12 guys that had a chance at $2 million. dollars. And that's where a 36-hole finale for $2 million. dollars. So I meet with my parents and basically like, look, I had already, verbally committed to play golf at BYU. Had an opportunity to play at Weber State, Utah State scholarships to play basketball, but and so there were opportunities there. And so we meet with my parents, and they basically were like, look, all those opportunities are really cool. You have a chance at $2 million. dollars. You're definitely turning pro. So that's pretty much how that conversation went. And on my way I was at the professional game.
It's just amazing, and it's worked out pretty well for you. Just in case you hadn't figured that out, I think you made the right. You think you made the right choice?
Well, yeah, I listened to my parents, and I guess it was the right choice.
Yeah. So okay, so now let's go back to 2018. You get the call. You're going over there. Were you? I mean, everyone thinks they're prepared for that stage. And the things that the players that have been there before as a Ryder Cup rookie, they tell you what to expect. They tell all of you this stuff. And then you get there. And the thing that I remember most about the opening hole in Paris was that stadium they put around the first tee was one of the more ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. Were
Well,
you ready for that stage? Or when you got to that stage, did it feel like, oh my God, this is unbelievable?
Yeah, a lot of nerves. You're really nervous leading up to the week. Once you've been picked, I was extremely nervous as I prepared for it, and just trying to make sure that I was ready. But the day of, I wake up. I'll tell you a quick funny story. So in 2018, I know I'm going to be paired with Brooks, and Brooks had just come off winning a couple major championships, and so he's kind of the guy at the moment with the most majors over the last couple seasons on our team. And so once I know I'm going to be paired with Brooks, Jim is kind of roaming around in the practice rounds between groups asking when do we want to go out. And I knew I was going to play best ball with Brooks. So me and Brooks have a chat and basically say we want to go first. Jim comes back to us and says, Jordan and JT want to go first, so you guys will go second. We're like, great, that sounds good. He goes back to Jordan and JT. They say, no, let Tony and Brooks go first. So anyway, so Brooks and I go out first. That night, Brooks announces to everybody, he says, hey, Tony's going to be hitting the first tee shot. And I looked at him and I'm like, no, you're going to hit the first tee shot. And he's like, no, I want you to hit the first tee shot. So that was really cool of Brooks to give me that opportunity. But I remember thinking to myself, this is going to be wild. I'm leading off the Ryder Cup. I'm a rookie. Yeah. And so anyway, it's a really cool honor that he gave me, but I couldn't sleep all night. And so we end up finishing this meeting. Everybody kind of, chuckles at me as they walk out. Tiger taps me on the shoulder and I look over and he looks at me and he's like, don't F it up, buddy. And then he just walks away. And I'm thinking to myself, oh boy. So that added to the whole, I was nervous, and then that just took it to a whole nother level. Tiger was my golfing hero, golfing idol growing up. He was my era. So as a kid, so I was extremely nervous. I didn't really sleep all night. But I will say, when I woke up that morning, got to the golf course, got a golf club in my hand, and started doing my warm up. It was like riding a bike. I was ready to rock and ready to go. I wasn't nearly as nervous as I imagined I would be over this tee shot, and I ended up just hitting a 300-yard 3-iron at 7 in the morning, 50 degrees, right down the right down the middle of the fairway. So that was pretty wild. But everything I remember from that was just that I've never seen this amount of people and felt this amount of energy on a tee shot. I couldn't feel my arms. In that situation, you just trust your swing. As long as the ball gets on the tee, I knew I was going to be all right. And so once I teed that ball off and hit that first tee shot, I actually was able to settle in. But there was no feeling like that first tee shot of the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, and you guys, the thing about that cup that I remember is you guys started off great. You and Brooks beat Rose and Rahm 1-up, and then you guys took the first 3 matches. And after the morning session, it's 3-1. I'm like, okay, things are going great. And that was the only session that the Americans won for the rest of the cup. I mean, you got swept in the afternoon. That next session you lost 3-1, and then you split the other one, and then obviously the singles went the other way. So when did you guys realize, oh my God, this is really getting away from us here?
Yeah, I mean, Saturday afternoon, coming back from 4 points in a Sunday singles in the Ryder Cup is a tall task. That's the biggest margin of victory anybody's come back from. And we were down 4, I don't remember exactly, but we started to go down 4 or 5 points there Saturday afternoon. And that's when we knew, like, all right, we're going to have to do something special in singles to make this happen. But the thing about these team events that I know, when you have this many guys, this many great players, we all believe that we can come back from anything. We all believe we can win no matter what the odds are. And we believed that then. In 2018, I still remember like it was yesterday. All the guys, when we saw the singles matchups, we all looked at each other and said, look, we can do this. We can make this happen. But that's the thing that I feel like separates so many great players. Having been in these rooms, being around these guys, that 2018 Ryder Cup, I feel like on paper that U.S. team may be the strongest team on paper, like, of all time. And I'm even looking at myself as probably the weakest link. And the other 11 guys, you start to name them.
Great.
Hall of Famers, major champions. Obviously Tiger and Phil. So that team was an incredible team. So to have that be my first one, to have Tiger and Phil on the team, so many of my great peers that I got to get to know better. And the huge thing is that they respect you. You go out and win matches. You go out and prove that you can play under this immense pressure and win points for your team. I gained a lot of respect, I feel like, from my guys. I was able to have a winning record, one of only, I think, 3 guys at that Ryder Cup to have a winning record. And
Correct.
So that was huge for me and my confidence. And just, again, to gain the respect of these guys that I look up to, that I compete against, and just some of the best players that I've ever played.
All right, so the excitement of being named is then quelled by the disappointment. What did it feel like knowing we didn't get it done?
Yeah, I remember standing on the green and watching them celebrate, the Europeans on their home turf, everybody going crazy, and just soaking that in. And I knew I want to be on the next team and I want to win. That gave me more motivation than anything to make sure that I'm at the next Ryder Cup, because I want to be celebrating. I want to be a part of a winning team, and it stings. All 12 of us are captains. Nobody likes to lose, but I don't know anybody that's more competitive than those 11 guys that I played with in 18, and all wanting to be a part of that next team. So watching another team celebrate, knowing that they handed it to you and the way that they did, was a hard pill to swallow. Jim was an incredible captain. We had an incredible team. We had incredible vice captains. I mean, there's really nothing I can point at that, other than we just flat out got outplayed. And that stings as a competitor. You don't ever want that to be the case. It came down to execution, I feel like, more than anything else. And they out-executed us in 2018. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you feel like you have a team that can dominate and wasn't able to do that. So I made it a mission and a huge goal of mine to be on the other side of that the next time around.
Well, and you certainly were, and you had to wait a little longer because the 2020 Ryder Cup was postponed because of COVID, and you don't get out there to Whistling Straits until 2021. Steve Stricker is your captain in this situation. there was no doubt you were making the team at that point because of the way you had played leading up to that point. So what was it like getting together 3 years later and trying to sort of tell everybody, hey, man, we can't let this happen again, not on our turf?
Yeah, it was exactly that. But we had a whole different team. We had a lot younger team. They were fresh. They were hungry. And we were all, the camaraderie was fantastic. A lot of the older guys, I would say our 2021 team, a lot of the older guys had kind of weeded out. And so we had a bunch of fresh new guys. And I think that was a great thing for us in 2021. And so we had so many great players. And what I remember from that is just Strix was the kind of captain that was like, you guys go out and do your thing. I'm going to make this week easy for you. Not going to have a lot of obligations. I want you guys to have this be like a normal week, and you guys just go do your thing. And so, we obviously had, a guy, Scotty Scheffler. We had him before he went on this winning barrage, but we all knew that he needed to be a part of this team. And so, 2021 was so special, being a part of that team. Almost in a veteran role more so because we had, I think, six guys that were rookies, 6 guys that were kind of looked at as veterans, and I was one of those veterans. And so to kind of take some of these guys I guess not really under my wing, but play alongside them. And somebody like Harris English, who I was able to play with and win a match with, for him, being in his debut Ryder Cup. He's a guy that's going to be on the Ryder Cup this year, but to kind of have him as my partner and do some special things with him was a lot of fun.
And it was sort of the exact opposite of what happened in Paris. You guys won the opening match, the Friday morning matches, and you didn't lose a single slate. So, I mean, you kept that momentum. How much was that preached to you guys for the ones that were there in Paris to realize, hey, man, one session is great, but that's not nearly good enough. We have to once we get that lead, we got to step on their necks, basically.
Yes, that's exactly right. We were trying to steamroll them at the end of the day. It wasn't, we weren't going to be content with winning one session, winning 2 sessions. We wanted them all, and that was what Steve was preaching to us all week. Was we want to win every session, we want to win every match, and so go out, no matter what the score is, and step on their necks. You said it. That's exactly that was exactly the message. And I remember hearing that from Strix, like, hey, this is a new day, this is a new session, this is a new match. We go out and handle business. So that's what he preached all week, and we were really able to do something special that week for sure.
You mentioned Scotty. He was the anchor match in that Ryder Cup against John Rahm. And the thing that I remember most about that Sunday is that when you looked at the lineup, every American player going out had a higher world ranking than his European opponent, except Scotty Scheffler, who was going up against the number 1 player in the world, John Rahm.
Yep.
And you guys just poured it on. And then Scheffler to go out there last and then take down Rahm. You guys had to feel like it was just this thing that it was unavoidable. Like you guys at that point felt like a snowball rolling downhill, just getting bigger and bigger.
That's exactly right. It was a snowball effect. Scotty got us started, and you look up, and he's 2 up, and he's 3 up, and he's 4 up. And, we're all just like, we were antsy to get out there and keep adding to this lead. That was the feeling. It was such a momentum type of year, that type of Ryder Cup. That we had the fans. We had just so many things. Guys were playing well. We were putting better. We were playing better. We had the fans. And then the one match that everybody wanted to focus on was how are we going to start in singles? That's always those first couple matches are huge to set the tone. And Scotty really set the tone for really how that Ryder Cup went. He steamrolled Rambo, and he even talks about it today. This is how big the Ryder Cup is. That match and that Ryder Cup changed the course of his career. He's mentioned that many times, and he's going to go on to accomplish many great things. But for us, I know how much it means when I got picked in 2018. You don't only get picked by Jim, my captain, the vice captains. You get picked by the players. Scotty knew that in order for us to win that Ryder Cup, we needed him. He had the respect of the players, the respect of the captains, and then we had the full trust to put him out up against Rambo up first in singles. And so that I think has really given Scotty so much confidence as we look back on the last 3 or 4 years since then. He's going on and he's going to go on to do so many more special things. But that's how big the Ryder Cup is. You put yourself in that atmosphere, and you know that you can win matches against the best players in the world in that immense pressure. There's something about the confidence that you carry yourself with after those events that carry you through really the next 3, 5, 10 years of your career, knowing that I've played in the highest pressure, the highest stage that this game has to offer, and I executed and played incredible. And so I think we're seeing some of the fruits of that from Scotty.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, he wasn't the anchor match, right? He went out earlier. So when you knew it was over, you guys like killed them by 10, 19-9.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the kind of score it used to be when it was just the British against the United States. All good, all good.
6 kids,
Well, you got 17 kids, Tony. It is likely to happen. Don't worry about it.
The chances of one of them coming in during this was pretty high. So.
Pretty strong. So when you knew it was done, what was that feeling like? That you mission accomplished?
Yeah, so I had an opportunity to beat Ian Poulter. I played Ian Poulter in the singles, and I knew I had a golden opportunity to put a blemish on his scorecard. He's never lost a singles match. I knew that going in, and Ian beat me. So I was a little bit, for a very short time when I lost my match, I was upset that I didn't do what I felt like I wanted to do and just beat Ian and give him a blemish on the Ryder Cup. That didn't last very long. That sting didn't last very long. That's how amazing the feeling was to just win the Ryder Cup, because at the end of the day, this is a team event. As much as you want your individual record to be incredible and you want to beat at the end of the day, this is about winning the Ryder Cup for your country, for your teammates, for your captains. And we did it in a fashion that has never been seen in the history of the Ryder Cup. The most winningest team. To be part of that and allow that to soak in, to be celebrating now on our home turf in front of them, to kind of give them that, to get the revenge that I feel like I've been waiting for over the 3 years. That type of satisfaction, fulfillment is something that I wish everybody in this world could experience. Something that's that cool. To be a part of something that special, still brings goosebumps, tears to my eyes to have experienced something like that. The joy, the self-fulfillment, the team fulfillment to accomplish something that great. So many great feelings just flood back for me.
Listen, I think a lot of us remember Xander Schauffele and the cigars and the post-game, after the post-press conference. He was already on his way to having a really good night. And then Dustin was out there as the oldest member. Oh, no, I can hang with these guys. For those that will never experience it, what is that party like afterwards when you know you've won the cup and, like, it is time to have a really good time?
Well, I hate to ruin the vibe here, but to be honest with you, the Europeans party way better than the Americans, and that's like way better. It doesn't matter if they win or lose; you feel like you think they won. The party is at the European side, and that's just point blank. Even when we won in 21, it was an amazing vibe. We had a great time, but it was like the party was on the European side. If you really want to have a good time, that's where the party is at. So. Even though we have guys that party and, we had Xander with the cigar and stuff, the real party is on that side. And we got to up our game there when it comes to celebrating. There's no question. But that's a good problem to have. It's better to win and not know how to celebrate than lose and celebrate, right? So at the end of the day, I hate to disappoint people, but the Americans don't party and celebrate nearly as well as the Europeans. If you guys didn't know that, that's just a fact. I think we've seen on social media. It's funny. I saw the American tab. I think in '99 on the U.S. side was like 3,000, and on the European side was like 40,000 or something. And so they really get after it with alcohol and celebrating. That's something I guess we got to work on. At the end of the day, I think maybe we're just tired and we're ready to nap. I will say that year, Colin Morikawa didn't even make it to the after party. He kind of drank himself He drank himself to sleep and went straight to his room and don't even remember anything about the after party. And we had to tell him, like, look, bro, you didn't even show up. I think your wife took you to the room and you weren't even there. So that tells you a lot of guys, they used to handle their liquor back in college, but I don't think they can handle it anymore.
Yeah. Time to step it up, Colin, at Bethpage. Come on, let's go if we can pull this thing off.
That's right.
Okay, so now let's do something really interesting, because if you don't mind, I'd like you as a player to take us through Bethpage, okay? Because you played that course a couple of times. I played it once. I never want to play it again because it was the most aggravating experience of my entire life. But let's start with the first hole, which plays about 430 yards. It's a par 4. What do you see on this hole?
Yeah, it's a dogleg right, and this is driver for everybody. Everybody's going to be sending driver up towards the screen, and to me, it's a crime if we don't send out Bryson first and let him just send this tee shot at the green. It plays downhill about 20 yards and a dogleg, so to the front edge is only about 350, something like that to the front edge, which Bryson's very capable of hitting. But you're going to see everybody hitting driver. You're going to see a lot of birdies right out of the gate on number one. It's a short hole. Guys are going to be chipping into the screen, and so right out of the gate, you're going to see action.
All right. What about the second hole? One of the shorter par 4s out there, 389 yards.
Yeah, I think it might be the shortest, but this is an iron off the tee, dogleg left. You're just looking to put something in the fairway, and then from there, you're hitting into another hole that I feel you're going to see guys score on. So right out of the gate, you're going to have guys hitting wedges into the greens, and you're going to see birdies made on the first 2 holes at Bethpage.
All right, then the first par 3 is the third hole, playing about 200 yards. It says it's the easiest hole on the golf course. Does it play like it?
Yeah, this is going to be between a 5 and a 7 iron, depending on where they put this, the tees, and then also where they put the flag. But yeah, I've never felt like this was a crazy hard green to hit. It favors a guy that hits a draw, pretty well bunkered. But yeah, a solid hole. But this is when you start to get into, places where you got to start stepping up and hitting some really quality shots.
All right, then we move on to the first par 5, the fourth hole, playing about 572 yards. And this is interesting, Tony, because it's a par 5 and it's the second toughest hole on the golf course.
Yeah, yep. The reason is you can only hit it about 300 yards off the tee here, so you're going to see guys hitting like 3-wood, 5-woods, and then you have a long iron into a green that's really well bunkered. And if you're not hitting it high and soft, it's impossible to hold this green. So that's going to be the biggest issue for guys, is hitting the fairway first. But the second shot, the green runs away from you. It's an opposite of what a normal standard golf course would be. It's not back to front. It's actually front to back. And so when you're hitting a 4 or 5 iron into a green that slopes front to back, you really have to hit it high to hold the green. And so you're going to see a lot of good second shots here, roll over the back of the green, and then it's just about the guy's short game to get up and down.
Yeah, I think this was
you're going to see birdies and eagles. You're going to see birdies and eagles there, though.
Yeah. And then we get to number 5, which is just a beast, about 480 yard par 4.
Yeah, it's an extremely difficult driving hole. To hit this fairway, you're going to have your best stuff. The fairway slopes left to right. So again, maybe favors somebody that hits a draw to kind of hold the fairway. But this is a hole, if you don't hit the fairway, it's a layup because it's guarded by 80 yards of rough leading up to the green. And then again, a really hard green to hit. It slopes back to front and left to right. So this is where you're going to start seeing some groups start to separate themselves. You're starting to hit really high quality shots in some of these holes. You'll start to take it. You'll start to win some of these holes even with a par.
All right, then we get to the 6th hole, which is another sort of standard length par 4, about 410 yards.
Yeah, this is one of the very few blind tee shots you have at Bethpage. The guy's going to be hitting to a fairway that's 10 to 15 yards below where the tee box is, and a really weird angle. The tee box is hard left, and it slopes, and the fairway slopes right to left. But yeah, another one you're going to see guys hitting driver, but you'll also see guys hitting woods off the tee, and then very well bunkered, as you can see. Turtle back type of green, so anything in the middle of this green is going to be good. You'll see some birdies, but you'll also start to see some big numbers over the last couple holes.
And then 7, I think, is going to play as a par 5, 550 yards.
Yeah, this is probably the most scoreable hole on the front. Um, you'll have guys like Bryson and Rory taking it over the corner here and hitting only like an 8 iron or a 7 iron into this green. So everybody can get there, and a pretty lenient fairway from what I remember. So you're going to see a lot of action here. Guys are going to make birdies. Guys are going to make eagles. And this is a point in the match where you really want to start gaining a lead as we move into the back nine.
Okay, then we get another par three on the eighth, playing another about 210 yards is what the scorecard says.
Yeah, 210 yards, but it plays 7 to 10 yards downhill. The right side of that green is guarded by this tree. Just need a high quality mid iron to hit this green. And if you hit it short of the green, there is a hazard there. So very well bunkered and very very well protected. But this is a hole. If you make a birdie, you're probably going to win. You're probably going to win number 8.
And then you finish up the front nine with just a gentle handshake of a hole, just a 460-yard par 4.
Yeah, this is a hole. Again, you have to hit the fairway at Bethpage. That's the most important thing. But you also have to hit it with some length. This is a hard dog leg right to left. And again, a hole that I think just favors guys that draw the golf ball. Start it right at the bunker and turn it over. And then you have a green that's, again, very well bunkered and a turtleback green. But this is a hole, because guys hit it so far these days, I still remember hitting wedge, 9 iron into this green, even a gap wedge. And so guys will make birdies on this hole.
Some guys will, not most of us watching. Then the back nine starts with I remember this hole the first time they played the U.S. Open there. It seemed like impossible just to find the fairway. That's how long this hole felt, playing about 600 yards, par 5.
Yeah. No, this is actually a par 4, about
Par
500
4, I'm
yards.
sorry. Yeah, it's a par 4.
But
My apologies.
yeah, but it's 500 to 510 yards. Everything you can handle here. It's far, it's long, it's straight, it's narrow. Really, all the hardest things in golf, this hole is. You're going to see a bunch of pars win this in singles. You're going to see pars win this in best ball, and for sure pars win this in alternate shot. It's that tough of a hole. So this is where Bethpage really starts to show its teeth. I feel like is on the back nine, and right out of the gate, it's going to kick you in the teeth right on number 10.
And then we get to what I think is the heart of the golf course, 11, 12, and 13. 11th is a 435-yard par 4.
Yeah, this is one where guys will be laying back with 5 woods. Something that's, you just want to hit something between 250 and 280. So a lot of guys, that's going to be a 3 iron to a 3 wood. And then this is a hole that I actually see guys making some birdies. You're going to have wedges into this green. It's a really tricky green, especially the back pins. They're really hard to get back to because you don't want to hit it long. But I still see this hole yielding some birdies for these guys.
And then we get to number 12, which is another long par 4, 500-yard par
12. Yeah, 12 in my opinion is the hardest hole on the course. It's a hard tee shot. It's your ball's kind of landing over the bunker there. And it's just a hard hole. There's no, you have to hit the fairway. After you hit the fairway, it's not a guarantee you're going to hit the green, and most likely you're going to be hitting a mid to long iron into this green. So everything you can handle.
And then we've got 13, the last par 5 out there. It's probably going to play close to 600 yards.
Yeah, no doubt. This is where, it really gets dicey. It really gets really fun. But, again, a premium on hitting the fairway. This is that famous 2-iron Tiger hit, where he has that club twirl and hits it right to the middle of the green in 2002 when they had the U.S. Open there. But this is the hole that Tiger made famous because of that 2-iron. But guys are going to be able to get there if they hit the fairway. Really hard to hit the green into. But because it's a par 5, you're still going to see guys make some birdies here.
Yeah, I remember watching the tee balls in 2002. Like, how could they even find the fairway? The tee box was that far back. And then we get a sort of a little breather, kind of a short par 3 on 14.
Yeah, it's a breather as far as length, but because of the way the green is shaped, um, it's not an easy hole. This is a
No.
green that moves again front to back, and so you're gonna need your distance control and spin control dialed in here if you're gonna want to hit this green and hit it close.
And then we get to the finishing stretch, starting with a 478-yard par four.
Yeah, 15 to me is the second toughest hole on the course. Hard fairway to hit, and if you were to hit the fairway, it's still a hard second shot to hit the green. This is just patent Bethpage, hard tee shot, hard second shot. If you're able to hit two really good shots to the middle of the green, you're going to have a putt with a lot of slope. But par is a fantastic score here on 15.
Yeah, number one handicap score, a hole on the card. And then 16, we get
Yep.
to another adventure here.
Yeah, dogleg left, downhill tee shot. Again, kind of a blind tee shot, just in that you're hitting, 20 yards, 15, 20 yards downhill. Um, but this is the point of the match where things really, you really start to pucker up and you got to hit some shots. If you're getting to hole 16 and in match play, and especially out of Ryder Cup, that means the match is tight and you're going to have to step up and hit some shots. And it's everything you can ask for right here. You have to hit a straight tee shot, and then you're going to have a mid to short iron in, and you got to execute to the best of your abilities over the last couple holes, 15 and 16.
Yeah, and then 17 is another long par three.
Yeah, 17 is a lot of matches are going to be made, and you make or break here. It's a tough. It's not an incredibly hard green to hit, but it's tough to hit it close. They're going to be guarding these pins, front right, back left. You just have to be really precise to hit it close, and it'll be really, really fun to watch guys down the stretch play this hole. As you can see, it's a narrow green, even though it's very wide. It's a very narrow green, so 5, 6, 7 irons into this green, you're going to have to be real precise with yardage. It's going to be fun watching these guys come down the stretch though here with this tough 17th hole.
Yeah, absolutely. Then 18 is just it's a little uphill, 410-yard par four. There's so much strategy that would go into this hole depending on how the matches get here, because if you've made it to 18, the match is close, and you've really got to be strategic when you see all that bunkering.
That's right. That's exactly right. You just have to hit this fairway. That's the bottom line. I can't say I've played this hole great over the years because of how tight it is. I just hit the driver because I'm like, I want to be able to make one good swing and make the hole a lot easier. If I hit the fairway with the driver, it's a wedge. And so that's always been my strategy. But it'll be really interesting to see. I see guys hitting 4 irons to driver there. But guys are so good with their driver these days that I do still see guys just hitting driver off 18 and again, trying to make it easy. But this is going to be a hole that's going to make or break the Ryder Cup, and going to be so much fun to watch these guys come down the stretch and just see if they can make some birdies.
And you see that pin tucked back in the back right corner. That's probably going to be where it's going to be for most of these matches. So
right.
We'll see what happens, and hopefully, Tony, next year or next 2 years, we'll be talking about you playing in the Ryder Cup again. Is that the stated goal for you more than anything else?
Yeah, no question. Again, it stings not being a part of these teams, having been a part of many of these teams before. But to me, get healthy and get after it, and many great years ahead for me. I feel like my best golf is yet to come, and so that's where my mindset is at, and I want to be a part of these teams moving forward for sure.
Well, it was a lot of fun watching you in 2021, and also how well you played at Paris in 2018 in your rookie Ryder Cup. So we'll see what happens going forward. Hey, man, Tony, always great to catch up with you. Appreciate the time, and best of luck, and we'll see what happens, okay?
100%. We'll see what happens. Thanks, Trey. Good to be with you again.
You got it, buddy. Anytime, man. Thank you. Always great to catch up with Tony Finau. I also recorded a Half Forgotten History episode with him. You can check that out on my YouTube page as well. But again, this is the podcast about sports where we don't give you opinions. We give you information and data and analysis from the best in the business, including Tony. Here's hoping he gets on the next U.S. Ryder Cup squad, because I know that's something he desperately wants to be a part of again. Hey, if you liked what you saw today, we appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on Straight Facts Homie.